Hello and welcome to another episode of the podcast. Today we are at world famous Republic Coffee, where coincidentally I wrote most of my novel The Checkout. And today my guest is
Jack Alberson.
What's going on?
Not a lot, man. Just having some coffee.
Having some delicious coffee back here in the back room here. So what are we talking about today, sir?
Everything.
Every
single thing.
The Big Bang happened millions and billions of years ago,
Yes.
and lots of stuff happened at that point.
And then the Big Bang 2 happens
There we go.
later when they fly towards the TARDIS exploding. Sorry. Big Doctor Who nerd.
What we're here today to talk about is it's a little music project called the Pneumatic Girls, and it's a little CD download, whatever you kids are doing these days with the music. I don't know.
I like how you said seedy.
CD.
It's a very seedy.
It's a very CD musical project. I sent a CD to a buddy of mine the other day, and then as soon as I mailed it, going, I don't even know if he has a CD player anymore.
There's no. I mean,
it's a concern.
Yeah. I mean, when I took him into Shangri-La to sell, plug, didn't even mean to. They were like, yeah, we'll be happy to. Just so you know, CDs just don't sell very well. And I'm like, you know what? I don't have $8,000 to put out a vinyl copy of it yet. You know, it's just vinyl is still way too expensive.
Yeah.
To consume as well as to make. So
it's crazy. Yeah, it's so funny how that's kind of blown up too, and all the quote unquote real music fans have, they buy everything on vinyl now.
I mean, I like all the formats. I think whichever format is serving the music best, I think is what really matters. And in our case, it was what medium can we get it out with the amount of capital that we have, so that we can get the music out there.
Yeah.
Because it served a very practical purpose.
Yeah.
In this case, didn't have the money to make vinyl, wanted to get it out, so pick the medium that you can actually get it out on, because a physical product seems to legitimize.
Oh yeah,
that's a project.
I mean, when I was doing my book, of course you can just upload it and put it as an ebook. But let's face it, you don't make an album, you don't write a book to have an MP3 or an ebook. You want a damn disc.
It's it's a romance. I think that people. I don't want to call it a fetish necessarily, because if we're speaking by the actual definition of the word, that's not
right.
accurate. You're not getting off on your.
Oh, I did many times.
There were a couple of cassettes that maybe
exactly.
No. So you have a love affair. You develop a relationship with the actual object as much as you do sometimes.
Yeah. With
the music that's on it, or the art, or whatever. And I think in that case, sometimes music is superior to like a painting.
Right.
No offense to painters, but you can interact with it in multiple ways. I love mixed media because it encourages some sort of interaction, whether it's tactile or it's anything that can incorporate the end user with the art. I think is fantastic.
What's your preferred medium for experiencing music?
Honestly, sound like a trendy fuck here, but vinyl.
Yeah. Because
of there's some very practical concerns. Really, one, the art is bigger,
right?
Huge, I love that, and I sort of like. I thought when we really got into CDs really hard in the '90s, and albums became 74 minutes long, there were like two problems there. One, they're too long.
Yeah.
Just way too long. I don't have fucking time to think about 74 minutes worth of music. And then, secondly. To me, I think you can do more thematically interesting things with the constraint of having to flip a side over.
Yeah.
You can really give it its each side, each half of the record can really have its own personality. And you can do that with CD, but vinyl forces you to stop, turn the record over, or it forces you to pick a side. It forces you to decide, what kind of mood am I in today? Oh, well, I'm feeling down, so I'll put on the bummer side of the record, or I'm pumped up, so I'll put on side A, because everybody puts the good shit on side A,
right?
Or the upbeat shit. So yeah, I think that's. I don't even know if I answered your question.
No, that's fine. What do you think about digital copies, MP3s, streaming, all that stuff?
Again, I really think it boils down to, does it serve to deliver the music to a pair of ears?
Yeah.
You know, if one person's mode of transportation, say for instance, is a pickup, and another person's is a car, and another person's is an SUV, God forbid. Well, if all three get you to fucking the grocery store,
right,
they're all three legitimate. So that's kind of how I feel about it. It's really whatever gets what you need to you in whatever way, whether it's a destination or a musical experience or any kind of experience. I think that's what serves it.
Have you seen? You know, Neil Young's been a huge proponent over the years of all of these other sort of fringe media attempts to, you know, his big thing is sound quality, and he hates MP3s because of all that. Now he's got a $400 MP3 player out there that, you know, will probably only release his stuff, I would imagine. What do you think about that? Do you think that people are clamoring for better sounding digital music, or?
I've read some studies that suggest that fidelity only matters to a certain degree, and that, sorry mankind, but human ears just aren't good enough to really discern a lot of the higher quality artifacts and details that an audiophile quality recording would bring. And I dare say that Neil Young is one of the loudest guitar players in the world. How the hell does he hear anything else? You know,
Exactly.
How in the world does he think like he's hearing?
Oh yeah.
Unless he's worn earplugs every day of his life.
I doubt that.
The man was in Crazy Horse, for God's sake, or led Crazy Horse. So.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Yeah.
And the other thing that you run into there is, and I don't know a lot about Pono. I haven't read up a whole lot about it. I've seen the hype. I've seen a lot of people complain because it's the internet and people love to complain.
No.
What? But I think the thing that concerns me, and the thing that we continue to screw up on, and we continue to see, is there is no standard. There is no standard, and everybody says, "Oh, we're going to put out the best thing ever," but we have this proprietary format for it to be ingested with, and our format doesn't work with anybody else's. Yeah. And that's where MP3 actually succeeds, is you can play an MP3 on anything.
On anything, yeah.
You know, the sound quality may sound like crap, but it gets out there. I mean, anybody can listen to it. Yeah. You know,
I think
at this point.
You and I did our days in the record stores and kind of saw the, really the, at least with me, I went through the whole last phase where people gave a shit about CDs and music and the last big CD boom and all that. And working with it and then reading up about the behind-the-scenes stuff later, it really infuriates me to see that the record companies are, to me at least, are responsible for their own kind of demise right now.
Oh, largely. It has everything to do with. I mean, come on. Most of our problems have to do with greed,
right?
And
I mean, I really feel like with especially you were talking about the proprietary thing, is that the record companies were so far behind getting into digital music to begin with.
Oh, and in the DRM
exactly, and then they have they all couldn't agree on a format. Then they have DRM. Then they're trying. You know, it was a nightmare. And now, I mean, let's face it, iTunes is selling some stuff, but a fraction of what is being traded, downloaded, emailed, all that kind of stuff out there.
But then you have not to poo-poo anybody who decides to express themselves and want to communicate it out to others and put music out, because that's why people put out music. It's not about money. If I wanted to make money, I sure as fuck wouldn't be making music.
Right, exactly.
There is no money to be made in music. So it's basically, I don't know how to talk to people, and I make music to sort of get my point across.
Right.
And and so that makes it even worse when if you feel like there's nobody listening. That just guts me. But what were we talking about?
We're talking about the record companies and
the record companies
and the MP3s and shitting all over people.
I really
music
lost
out there.
it, but there was a point. It was a very good point. Oh my God, I can't believe this.
I mean, so for you, it's more important for let's say, you know, there's somebody out there that takes your record and listens to it on Spotify or downloads it, you know, and it's more important for you to be heard than making money off of it.
It has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be. Or else we would all have given up a long time ago.
Yeah.
Everything. It has everything to do with communicating.
Do you think that, I mean, to me, it seems like if I hear something online, you know, I'm pretty likely to go to a show if they're playing anywhere near.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of, I would imagine, where you kind of make any money at all is playing shows.
Absolutely. Covers and cover charge, not cover songs, but cover charge and merchandise, if you're lucky enough to be able to scrounge up the money to make something to, you know, to put on a table.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the money is. Honestly, I got an update from my digital distributor this morning, and I've made $4.38 in this last period.
Yeah, I know. It's
so it's not about money. It can't be about money.
Yeah.
You do it because you love it. You do it because you're like me and you don't really know how to talk to people. I can talk. I just don't know how to talk to people.
Right.
So you do it to, you know, get your point across in whatever capacity. Yeah, it's not about money.
So let's talk about your new album. It's called Imperial Lanes.
Mm-hmm.
And then this band is called the Pneumatic Girls.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me a little bit about this band, because I mean, since I've known you, you've been in tons of bands around town, and
Yeah.
I mean, and all fantastic ventures. So yeah, I listened to this record again last night and was very impressed by it. So I just want to know a little bit. Tell me about how this formed and how this came to be.
This came about really. I was in a very good band in town called the Near Reaches.
Yeah.
With J.D. Rieger, Jason Pulley, and Eric Wilson.
Yeah.
And various other people along the way. We'd have different drummers or whatever. We did. I guess the way it played out was that we sort of created this super group. I hate that word because it implies that we're all Peter Frampton and, you know,
right.
people with some sort of cachet. But so we were basically each other's backing bands. You know, JD would do a song and we would all back that song up. You know, and I've been recording music at home or in whatever capacity for this year will be 20 years, and it got to a point where I really it's hard for me to focus on more than one thing at a time.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to perform more of my songs out, but a lot of my songs didn't really jibe with the sonic aesthetic of the Near Reaches, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just kind of how it played out. And so I took my leave to focus on this, and that's where it grew out of. It grew out of just wanting to play all the songs,
right?
And to look into different avenues. I'm a big fan of just a lot of different things, from 60s British pop to glam to a lot of the post-punk. Most of it ends up being British. It's not really something I planned. It seems to be that way. And I couldn't express those ideas otherwise.
Yeah.
So I started this band. And like I said, I found I couldn't focus on more than one thing at a time. So
I've never
so
understood how people can be in 5 different bands at once.
They have way more time and attention span than I do. I couldn't do it.
No.
I can't do it.
So how did you? First of all, who else is the Pneumatic Girls?
But Pneumatic Girls is also Eric from the Near Reaches, who he's one of those guys, plays in 4 or 5 bands.
Right.
I have no idea how he does it. Matthew Trissler, who is also a fine songwriter and has a band called Impossible Weather. They're very good. And Angela Horton, who's played in probably as many bands as I have over the years. Gasoline Grace most recently, but also the Satyrs, which was one of my favorite bands when I moved to Memphis. And actually, it kind of started. I ran into her at a show at Ye Old High Tone.
Right.
It was a Sovi Sex who sort of New York shoegazer thing, and I was like, hey, we ought to play sometime, just play together. So and she was like, great. And so that to me, finding the drummer is always the hardest part, but that was the easiest part for this band somehow. And then she and I played together, just me and her, and we were going to play just a solo gig, and then I decided, just sort of out of a whim, to ask Eric if he wanted to sit in on bass. And then Matthew had a project and was opening, and so he ended up in the band, and that's just kind of sort of how it happened. It was really quite an accident, honestly, a deliberate accident.
Yeah. So tell me about this record right here. This, to me, I could definitely hear the British influences. I could definitely hear the little bit of the glam. To me, it's kind of it sounds pretty big at parts of it. Really kind of which is great though. It really.
Thank you.
It's got a bit of a different sound than everything else that I kind of hear going on right now.
Well, that's sort of what we set out to do. And there's no offense to any of the other incredible musicians and songwriters. I mean, a lot of them far, far better than I could ever be in town. But I wasn't hearing what I wanted to hear in the music scene.
Right.
And so that was it. That was another reason right there, because I wasn't hearing stuff that had any sort of influence from Bowie or not the Bowie I'm thinking of, like the Berlin albums,
right? Yeah.
And Joy Division and a lot of the Factory stuff and Roy Orbison. I mean, Roy Orbison kind of shows up in this because I grew up in a country western home.
That's funny because I didn't think of it when I was listening, but as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, there it is.
Yeah, Orbison, Morrissey.
Yeah.
Almost too many. I guess I'm a good plagiarist because I'm pulling for like over a dozen different places at once. So that's maybe.
Those are called influences.
Nobody will sue me. Oh, we all know what it's. We all know. We're all con artists.
Exactly.
We're all con artists.
Every artist. Yeah.
Everyone.
So tell me about some of the songs on here.
Well, it's 6 songs. If I Held You Close to Me was actually originally released on the Near Reaches 7-inch. We recorded it all of this was recorded with Harry from the Angel Sluts at 5 and Dime.
Yeah.
Which also counts for the bigness of the sound, and that was an aesthetic choice because I knew that we could get a dense sort of big sound from Harry. But Close to Me was originally recorded with the Near Reaches, and the rest I've made, like I do a lot of solo recording, and a lot of it's more electronic based, and a couple of these are, well, the rest of them really are from that, except Girl of My Dreams wasn't something I had recorded yet, and just sort of we ended up doing it. But and I think this works, and the solo thing work and can coexist because they're sonically so very different.
Yeah.
Because that's way more Eno and
right,
Kraftwerk and all of that stuff, and this is way on the other end. This is more like the Breeders maybe than
right, exactly.
than this end,
So did you write these songs with the band?
No, I wrote all of these sort of outside of the band. I've only recently been writing songs within the confines of the band. Only recently, really in the last 6 or 7 months.
How's that different from writing by yourself?
Well, I mean, what it boils down to is it boils down to sort of the tools that you have present at home. I've got drum machines, synthesizers, and my guitar rig, obviously, but some other weird little things like melodica and stylophone and all sorts of other junk. And with this, it's a classic sort of rock format. So, I fumble through the rhythm guitar bit. Matthew plays these incredibly great leads and flourishes on the 12-string usually, which sounds just, I love 12-string.
Yeah.
And then Eric's got much more of a soul R&B background as far as a bass player. Donald Duck Dunn is his like god.
Oh yeah.
And Horton, I can't really pin down where she pulls like her drumming from, because if you look at a record collection, there's a lot of alternative rock and stuff, but there's also like lots of Crass and
right.
all these punk influences.
Yeah.
So I can't pin that down, but I like it. I told her the first time I ever heard her that I thought her drumming sounded like the desert.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how I see music, how I hear music. And so when you're recording, or not recording, but when you're writing with these people around you, and you're sort of, you're taking into account those specific things that they do very well.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas otherwise, when you're alone, you're left to your own devices.
Right.
Some of your limitations, and you're too stupid to really let any of that stop you. So you just do whatever.
That's basically how all my creative endeavors have happened. I've just been too stupid to know I couldn't do it.
I think that's how the best things in the world happen. You have to be unwilling to be afraid of anything.
Especially
be like a big dumb dog chasing a car down the street. That's kind of exactly.
Yeah, I mean, because standing on a stage in front of a room full of people, basically kind of, we're singing something for somebody that has been in your bedroom for a year. That's got to take balls.
I don't even know. I don't even know if that's ever been a consideration.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever written something and gone, oh, that's just too private. That's too personal.
Yeah.
Because usually I think I kind of write in an impressionistic way. I try to avoid the Trent Reznor IU approach, and I've done that. I've allowed some of that to seep in more in the last couple years, but I usually try to write from a perspective of how can I evoke that idea without naming names.
Right.
I'm just the whole kiss and tell thing. I don't be Alanis Morissette.
Exactly.
We had dinner and then I did. How does she cram 48 syllables into one line of music? I've never understood that. That's sort of I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
Now I'm scarred for life.
Now you can't perform anymore
ever
because
again.
I just ruined it all.
I'm going to be Scott Walker. I won't be able to do anything but pound on meat in a recording studio for 40 years.
What kind of feedback have you gotten about this record? It's been out for how long now?
Well, it's been available since the beginning of April. So we're only now looking at it in terms of releasing or having sort of a ta-da, here it is thing.
Yeah.
And getting the press involved, scary as that can be.
Yeah.
And it really hasn't been a whole lot of feedback. It's just hard to get people to listen to music.
It's hard to get people involved really in anything. Honestly, I mean.
Well, it's and this here I go sounding negative, but I mean, the media has created a very Nazism. It's creative Nazism basically. Hitler was fantastic at saying, okay, you can do this or you can do this. He gave people two choices.
Right.
And Clear Channel has basically pulled a Hitler. They've said, okay, we've got 20 songs.
Yeah.
And you can like these 20 songs.
Right.
If you want anything else, you're going to have to work for it. You're going to have to go out and look for it. And people are lazy.
Yeah.
We're lazy creatures. People aren't going to spend a lot of time. And a lot of the indie groups that have made it, they've got money backing them that they can thrust themselves out. It's like it's a gigantic the music industry, instead of payola being radio play only, the entire industry is payola.
Yeah.
You have to pay to get anything to happen. Right. Anything at all. And that's that. There it is. But the people that have, sorry, I forgot. I thought I turned that off. The people that have been polite enough to give in to my constant badgering have been very positive about it. Yeah, that's a long way around your answer. It's been positive. I'm itching to record some more. Yeah, honestly. Do
you have plans for more recording, or is it more live shows now, or what?
Well, we're kind of staying off the live thing until the record release party, so to speak, which is going to be at Otherlands in July.
Cool.
So we're kind of laying low for that. We've got 2 or 3 songs that I feel like are ready to be recorded. And my master plan, if money were no object, is I would like to get back in the studio again in the fall, record 6 more. I've got a name for the EP and everything.
Oh, wow.
And then make another one and release it next year. And then eventually, one day, when money is no object, or less of an object, I'd like to put this and whatever comes out after it on a record.
Yeah.
Because this is about 22 minutes.
Okay.
And we would be about the same story for another one, and then make it sides.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about earlier. So that's kind of how I'm seeing it in my head. Will it actually work like that? Who fucking knows?
Exactly.
I have no idea.
Speaking of, you got the name. How did you come up with Imperial Lanes for this record?
There's less of a story with that than there is with the name of the band. I drove by it.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go.
I drove by it, and I was like, it was probably, it was about a week before we had to sort of get the art together and over to Audiographic. And so I was like, what the hell am I going to call this thing? I didn't want to go the self-titled route.
Yeah.
And then I drove by it, and I've always loved the font that they used for the actual logo.
Yeah.
And so I just saw it, and I was like, that means absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
The cover is unrelated to the name of the band and to the name of the EP. I wanted everything to be unrelated so that they would be related in their own universe.
Right.
This means whatever it is within the mythology of this band.
Sure.
Like, I guess like when New Order chose their name. They chose it because it didn't mean anything to them.
Right.
And so whatever they did from there on would be defined as New Order and would thus define what New Order is. And I love that idea. And so that was sort of like, oh, well, let's just...
So how did the name for the band come about then?
It's a phrase in Aldous Huxley's Brave New World.
Oh, okay, yeah.
From girl to pneumatic girl. And it's kind of funny because it ended up having sort of a pro-feminism context, because when I first looked up the name, which astonishingly no one else has used, I found a lot of tits and ass, basically.
I'm sure, yeah.
Image things would come up, and it would just be just ridiculous.
Right.
And not that I have a problem with ridiculous, but now when you look up the Pneumatic Girls, you don't just see.
You're right. Yeah.
You're getting art. You're getting some music, and there's still a little TNA, but and so I thought that was interesting. I've sort of like done some cock blocking in a way. I've made it harder for a guy to find some good internet porn or whatever.
Well, see, that may be a way to get listeners too.
I wasn't even thinking about the sex sales factor of it. Honestly,
Yeah.
I just thought it sounded like a band name.
Yeah.
Damn the connotation.
Yeah.
But
I can't believe nobody had to use that.
No,
It's such a good name.
It's fantastic, and no one else had even. Now there's I believe a graphic novel with that phrase in the title, but years ago it's a different media. It's a whole different ball of yarn, and really I don't think it's gonna.
Right. So you've got your record release party coming up in July.
July 11th.
Some shows.
Yep.
July 11th at Otherlands.
Otherlands. Mm-hmm.
What's after that?
I have no idea. Probably more shows. We need to get out of town and play because. It sounds terrible to say, but we've played several shows now in Conway, Arkansas, of all places.
Really?
And the people are just awesome.
Yeah. You
actually have people show up to the shows, and you can put on an early show and people will actually be there, and they're excited that you're there. And I hate to say it, but that's in sharp contrast to the Memphis performing experience, unless you're in one of the 3 or 4 pet bands that whatever's in at the moment. And and those people do well. And everybody else, you're lucky to have 10 people show up.
No, that's exactly true.
But you go out of town and people kind of get into it, so
You get excited by it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you go where you're wanted, basically.
So, if people want to find out more about the Pneumatic Girls, your music, your goings-ons, where can they go?
We're all over the internet at this point. We have the ubiquitous Facebook page. The music itself is available on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify. I kind of signed it up for every single digital distro I could think of. We also have a Bandcamp. It's beheretonightus.bandcamp.com, which I thought was a great gag. And there are other forms. I'm slowly but surely working on a WordPress blog, which is pneumaticgirls.wordpress.com. And there's a Tumblr, similar format, similar name, all of that stuff, yada yada yada.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's been good talking to you.
Yes, sir.
It's been a lot of fun.
And I love your They Live shirt.
Oh yeah. I got this from Art House Memphis, which was my last guest on the podcast. So
Nice.
yeah.
Plug. Yes.
Speaking of, the checkoutbook.com or richardalester.com.
Dude, I'm very stoked about that book. Very stoked. And I've seen it at booksellers.
That's true. It's
Yes.
been at the Booksellers of Laurelwood.
I have seen it there.
It's on their SIBA table right now too.
Is it?
It's nominated for an award. So.
Oh, congratulations!
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And so be sure to show up July 11th at Other Ones for
Yes.
the record release party of the Pneumatic Girls, Imperial Lanes, and let us know when you got something else going on, and we'll talk about that too.
Will do. Thank you,
Alrighty.
Richard.